Hey guys, what's going on? Third Street Reactions here. We're back. I'm Shane.
Zach.
And today we're reacting to the news of the direwolves that the genetic
Colossal Biosciences?
Colossal Bioscience. Yeah, I've been following them for a little while. I know kind of what they do. I'm trying to describe exactly what they do in a general way.
Like caught on the thing and sure.
Yeah.
So were they the ones discussing bringing back the mammoth? Was that another company?
You're right. They were discussing bringing back the woolly mammoth.
Yeah.
And they want to release him into Siberia. And they believe that's actually going to help with global warming.
Well, something to do with...
It'll offset greenhouse gases, from what I understand. Like, just with them walking around and trampling vegetation would contribute specifically in that huge region.
Okay.
And also, they believe reintroducing them would just kind of like reintroducing gray wolves. They released like 13 gray wolves in Yellowstone National Park, and it did all this insane stuff that no one ever thought they would do. Like
but woolly mammoths aren't predators.
No, they're not, but I guess so. Just the way they infect the environment. Mm-hmm. That's what they believe. And,
well, it's not the most dangerous thing that you could release.
No, it's definitely not.
It could definitely still affect things. But
yeah, who's in Siberia? You know what I mean?
Well, there's Siberians in Siberia.
Yeah, I know. But no, important. No,
they might just kill the fucking things, too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the interest...
It's a food source now.
Well, the interesting discussion is also, I think for a long time they thought, well, humans, they're the primary reason why they were hunted to extinction. But no, that doesn't seem to be the case. So, have we talked about the
Younger Dryas?
The Younger Dryas catastrophe?
Yeah. Which
I know about it because Graham Hancock, like my favorite dude that talks about ancient civilizations.
He's like an investigative journalist, right?
Yeah.
That was supposed to be, he's just looking at a lot of hot points that modern scholars don't like to be discussed because it challenges established academics.
Yeah, academics who have tenure, that publish papers and...
It's based on existing...
And get money, yeah.
Yeah, based on existing texts, which these texts being produced and these academics... producing texts based on these texts, it kind of feeds itself.
Well, like,
there's nothing wrong. Obviously, we know a lot of things that we've known for a long time, but at the same time, we don't know everything.
Exactly. So he challenged the notion primarily the Clovis people. There was a doctrine in archaeology in the Americas called Clovis First, where you were just kind of looked at as silly or ridiculed for challenging that notion of trying to even look for any kind of evidence of people before. Which I think they believe that the Clovis people obviously migrated over the Bering Straits. I think it was less than, 15,000 years ago. But they kept pushing that back as I find more evidence. And now I think they have footprints in Chile or whatever, somewhere like on the tip, like South America, that are like 40,000 years old. It's like footprints, and then there's like child footprints too. And you see where you see the adult and the child, and then you don't see the child, and then you see the child again. It's like the idea that it's like a little kid, like, pick me up, I'm tired, and then you pick them up and all right, you're gonna walk for a little bit, and that's what they found. It's really cool.
It is cool.
And they can also look at the blood, like, so there's like, I can't remember, I'm just gonna sit for the point of discussion. There's like 3 or 4, we'll just say 3 for discussion, like major ways that they label your blood, like A, B, and C,
like markers.
Yeah, and you could be AB or BC or AC or whatever else.
Like A and B positive and O and all that?
I think that's slightly different.
Okay, but just like genetic markers.
Yeah, and they know, so in Native Americans, like they have a blood type of people that are, I think, like in the Pacific, like on islands. Okay. So like the idea, well, maybe they were sea-bearing and they got into the Americas, and there's enough genetic differences between people where they go, oh, okay, it looks like there's multiple populations, multiple migrations, and there are things here that like, oh, these people only exist here. How'd they get all the way over here? And he challenged that notion, and I think that's pretty cool. And I know this is slightly off topic, but this is interesting to us.
Because we're talking about connecting worlds.
Yeah.
We're connecting a world that, predating ours, where these animals existed and probably coexisted with men.
Yeah.
Mankind.
Yeah, and in the Younger Dryas catastrophe, when it happened, it wiped out all the megafauna, the majority of the megafauna, except bears, in the Americas. Wiped out. We had multiple big cats here. We had an elephant here, or we had 2 different elephants here. We had all kinds of stuff here. And like it wiped out.
None of the cats survived, or did some of this? I thought that was a saber-toothed tiger, but it's got another name. I can't remember what the hell that name is.
Smilodon, or
Smilodon.
Yeah. So yeah, like multiple things died out here after, like within I don't know, I can't remember. It's like within 200 years of like the Younger Dryas. I don't think I think it's longer than the 200 years, but like a geological blink. Like all these other animals died out, and some of them died out on the African continent, but most of them died out here because it happened closer to here.
Yeah.
Which, the idea also is during that time, did all these different civilizations reset? Because what was it over there in Turkey? What's the name of that advance? Göbekli Tepe. Yeah. That is like the same age as the Younger Dryas too, like when that was built or something.
So they get to cause, they wiped out these major civilization centers.
Yeah, or like whatever happened shook them up, and
the
they
survivors
left.
of man, pretty much.
Yeah, because they believe that those people
parties
who created that buried it or something, but it all happened around then, so it shook that whole area. So it's just crazy to think about. And also there were mammoths actually that existed like 3,000 years ago, but they were on this island, and they were just kind of stuck there, and they were able to survive. But the last like 1,000 years of their life, they were starting to get dwarfism. They were looking smaller than Asian elephants.
Okay.
Yeah, because people on the island get smaller. I think that's why, unfortunately, people like my mom, Filipinos, are smaller. But Forrest Gallant, like my favorite wildlife YouTuber, conservationist guy, he's like an adventurer. He goes and he tries to find extinct animals.
This is the guy with the Tasmanian tiger.
Yeah, he's obsessed with that's like his favorite animal. He's been trying to find it, and because of COVID and all these restrictions, he was late on seeing what he's convinced was an actual thylacine that this backwater remote village, that's completely cut off. They have all kinds of wild dogs, and the thylacine, supposedly they see him all the time. They had one, and like some credible assistant of his said they have it, and he was going to fly in and see it, and then it died, and then they ate it, and then they throw the bones in a fire, to me that sounds fishy, but he's convinced. Like, he trusts the information that it was the thylacine.
Yeah.
So that's also one thing they want to wreck is the thylacines. And I think there's other things now, but I'm excited. The direwolves is kind of their first thing. And
it seems like from a layman's perspective, it seems like an easy species to recreate, to clone, and to introduce.
Yeah.
Because we already have, there's a pretty fucking big dog.
Yeah.
I mean, we were looking at size comparisons earlier.
Yeah, you have a huge dog, and it's bigger than that dog.
Yeah, so the Great Dane that's out here weighs probably 160, 170 pounds.
Yeah.
And when it's saying a dire wolf, that's how much usually gray wolves can weigh, naturally.
Yeah.
So, that being the largest dog species on the planet,
yeah,
a dire wolf is so much bigger.
Yeah.
Substantially bigger.
Yeah.
And so, if you introduce those into the wild.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm
not sure if they're doing it. I don't know. We are going to watch this video, and I don't think we're going to do a bunch of pausing because of the manner in which we're recording it. So we're going to watch it, and we'll commentate. Is that a word? We're going to do some commentary. If you're new to us, we do some live commentary, but we'll watch it afterwards. We will have another discussion. So you want to go and turn it on?
Everyone likes to talk about the climate crisis, but we are actually in a biodiversity crisis, and that's absolutely critical to our way of life. So if all of these species go extinct, then we'll have full ecosystem collapse.
Some scientists have estimated that by 2050, half of all species that are alive today will be extinct.
That is terrible.
The truth is that extinction happens. Extinctions have happened throughout evolutionary history. But right now, the rate of extinction is estimated to be 1,000 to 10,000 times faster than the base rate in the fossil record. And a lot of that is our fault. We need a solution.
Colossal is the world's first de-extinction company, and we combine de-extinction with species preservation, and our goal is to make extinction a thing of the past.
Colossal
Biosciences
develops cutting-edge technology to protect biodiversity.
Simon Whistler.
People think it's a scary word, de-extinction. They immediately put us with Jurassic Park, and it's not.
That doesn't make it scary to me.
These new techniques
because I know I wouldn't go.
To bring back animals.
You know what I mean? I want to go to a resort. I'd go to like the Columbus Zoo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like climate problem. It was a human problem.
I think we all share the deep concern about what's happening to biodiversity, what's happening to the planet, what's happening to people whose lives have been intertwined with wild nature since before time began. And so coming together is so exciting because I think that's how we can really drive change.
We're finding solutions to restore a species back to the wild. The purpose of that is to serve an ecological function. As we lose species within an ecosystem, if you think of a Jenga puzzle, you're sort of pulling blocks out of there. Those blocks that are creating the instability in the ecosystem is literally the function that animal plays. If we can find ways to restore animals that provide that specific function, we can create more stability within an ecosystem.
We've announced 3 species, the woolly mammoth, the thylacine, and the dodo. But one of the things that's absolutely critical to ecosystems is predators, as we've seen with what's happened in Yellowstone with the reintroduction of wolves.
Wolves, baby!
The park. They've shown that they've even reshaped the river systems. They've brought back beavers. They've brought back songbirds.
We're going to watch after this if you have time. It's like 10 minutes long.
To bring back the direwolf.
Direwolf. The direwolf is the first species that we're bringing back at Colossal.
I wonder how much it has to do with the popularity contest.
The direwolf, which
Game of
most
Thrones,
people
man.
think is just a mythical creature, was actually a keystone species that was not only endemic to the United States and mostly Americas, but it was actually culturally important to some of the biggest indigenous early tribes in America. So we thought if we could use it as an opportunity where we can also develop technologies that can help wolves, we thought it was the right first project given how important wolves are to ecosystems.
I wonder if that would be like a super predator, though.
That's what I'm saying.
One of the challenges when we started working on the direwolf was that we knew of only 2 direwolf specimens in the world that contained some usable DNA. One of our direwolf samples...
How's this going to live up to the Mr. DNA? That's my question.
And then another was a 72,000-year-old skull. So we're able to use these specimens and isolate this ancient DNA out of them.
For the direwolf, there was a massive study that did many samples across multiple institutions, and Colossal took 2 of those samples and was able to generate whole genome sequences from each. And so this is incredible for any species, let alone species that have been extinct. So what you can do is you can map that to its closest living relative. So at Colossal, we're using the gray wolf, and we've been able to generate such a high-quality genome that we can map back to create our own direwolf reference genome.
When we edit different lines of genetically diverse gray wolves, we'll create a set of genetically diverse direwolves with similar edits, but the basis of their diversity already existed within the gray wolf.
Gray wolves are on the endangered species list, and that means you can't just go in and collect the samples that we want.
Typically, people have to take a ear punch or a skin biopsy, and sometimes it's a very invasive process for the animal. We've developed a technology where you can take a simple blood draw, isolate these specific cells in the blood, and then clone from it.
We're changing the genome of this living animal partially into the genome of the extinct animal for those genes that matter, for the traits and characteristics that we want to see in that animal.
Discovering which parts of the genome make an animal look and act like that animal is one of the hardest problems in biology. It is unsolved and something that we have to solve if we want to know which parts of the genome we want to edit to make the gray wolf more like the direwolf.
To analyze our genomes, to compare direwolves with gray wolf genomes, we use our tools on a platform built by FormBio. It's a bioinformatics company that spun out of Colossal. They built this whole suite of analysis tools and algorithms that allow us to find the differences between the direwolf genome and the gray wolf genome and filter out these differences that we actually want to edit. And so we aligned our direwolf reads to the gray wolf genome. That allowed us to know exactly where the gray wolf differed from the direwolf. One of the most exciting differences that we found in the direwolf genome is that there is a change in the L-Coral gene. L-Coral is a key regulator of animal size.
I think I heard about that because they're looking at it in blue whales and elephants.
We have cells growing in a dish in a lab that belong to a gray wolf. And so these have gray wolf genomes. Now we've decided which part of that genome we want to change. So one at a time, we take our gene editing tools and we go into that cell and we cut out the bit of DNA that looks like a gray wolf and paste in its place the DNA that looks like a direwolf.
Each time you edit the gene in a cell, you put a lot of stress on that cell because you have to get your gene editing tools in these cells and these changes are made. So what we do instead is we try to make dozens or hundreds of changes at once. It's called multiplex gene editing.
So now we have cells growing in a dish in a lab that have DNA that makes them a little bit more direwolf-like than gray wolf-like. We have to transform these living cells into actual pups. And for that, we use a process called cloning, or somatic cell nuclear transfer. This is the same process that most famously brought us Dolly the sheep.
You take an egg, an oocyte, from a wolf or a dog, you take out its own DNA and you stick that direwolf cell in it.
That cell becomes an embryo that's a direwolf. It's no longer a domestic dog, which sounds totally science fiction. And with the help of a vet team, we then are able to surgically put this embryo back inside to the surrogate dog.
Oh, so they use a dog.
We have to find
Why not a
appropriate
wolf?
dog that can carry our direwolf.
Everyone is thinking very critically about each step so that when that pup is finally born, we know there aren't any issues.
The safety of all of our surrogates for any of our species is the highest priority. We have an overemphasis on our animal husbandry team to secure their safety, as well as are pursuing on the science side our own exogenous development team so that one day we won't have to use surrogates.
The most exciting part is when the vet team comes in, they do their ultrasound and they say, yeah, congrats, you're gonna be a puppy mom, or you're gonna have a cub on the ground in a couple weeks. After the pups are delivered, there's a care team in place. They're there to make sure that our direwolf pups are happy and healthy, and that mom has gone through delivery without any problems. And then we have another team that will ensure that our pups have the right dynamics, they have the right social structures.
We're working actively right now with partners today to make sure that there are solutions and places for these animals to go in the future. And it's really important to say that all of this is done in this massive network.
It's critical to work with private landowners, local governments, indigenous people groups, and the public at large to do that in a way that's safe and publicly accepted, but also it's good for the ecosystem and the animals themselves.
What we're doing is having all of this collaboration in place well before we have these animals, and this is absolutely critical to making this work successful.
We're a part of the evolutionary
This guy was on Joe
story
Rogan.
of the planet. We're kin to every other species out there. And so because we have the ability to shape the world, I think we have a responsibility to correct our mistakes from the past.
What we do today is, I think, what's the hope for the...
Is Grace there?
Nope.
Well, he's not down the basement. He's not upstairs, I don't know.
Our mistakes from the past.
What we do today is, I think, what the hope for the future is for biodiversity and for nature. And so to be on sort of the ground floor of creating a tool that will be the solution for our biodiversity crisis is the most motivating thought that I could ever have.
What we're doing at Colossal has never been done before.
I hope everyone around the world is leveraging the technologies that we develop here, and I hope that biodiversity loss and extinction is just a thing of the past.
The idea of being able to have direwolves again is tremendously, personally exciting, and I think it's going to be exciting to a lot of people.
The first time I see a direwolf, oh my God.
Direwolf's a big fluffy dog that I probably wouldn't pet.
I think it's going to be amazing in a lot of ways.
I'm really excited to see the birth of this direwolf pup and all the hard work that all of the teams have contributed to. There's so many people that have had their hand in this that it's just fulfilling for us to see, okay, we did it. We produced something that is magnificent and science fiction at its finest.
There
we go.
The puppies. Romulus and Remus.
Oh, fucking raised by wolves.
Mm-hmm. They were fucking the Romans, man.
Yeah.
Definitely pretty dogs.
Yeah, they are, man. Damn. All right.
All right.
Man, that was a cool video. On Instagram, I think we were talking about it, so we did see the initial video of them howling. What'd you think, man?
Well, I really wanted to watch this because I wanted to know why.
Yeah.
And not just the John Hammond why.
Yeah.
Where he's just, the attractions, the flea circus.
Yeah.
And all that shit. Like, I wanted to know why. Why are we bringing back these species?
Yeah.
And in particular, the direwolf.
Yeah.
I remember hearing the argument vaguely of why they were talking about bringing back the woolly mammoth and the effects on, the flora and the fauna and the ecosystem. I remember them talking about releasing it in Siberia and all of that. But I wasn't sure, okay, the wolves. But now you look at the practicality, the practicability, applicability. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, how it can be applied to, say, for instance, the gray wolf, who is at present on the extinction list. Or not extinction list, endangered species list.
Yeah.
And
they're not critically endangered anymore, though.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
But the idea that you can have the system in place that almost would safeguard that species.
Yeah.
And in a way that's developed via reverse engineering their genome in order to apply it to the direwolf and make that happen. So it's really cool. It's
and I did watch something on their Instagram earlier that now they can very easily take. So I think it was the American gray wolf. I'm pretty sure they're going through a population bottleneck event, like a genetic population bottleneck, to where there's not a lot of genetic diversity. With it's like a region of wolves. Of the American wolves. I don't think it's all of them, but it's definitely a region for sure, a big region. And there's all kinds of bad stuff that can happen with low genetic diversity, like diseases and everything else. So they can take some wolves and edit their genes slightly and just introduce them into that area, and they just breed with everything, and then it just 10 years later everything's fixed.
Yeah.
So I think that's just really cool. Like I love animals. I love animal conservation. And humans, like especially the oceans, probably a little more. Definitely done a lot of damage to this planet. I'm glad that people, because there's a lot of ways to do it, and lots of times it's politicized in a very unattractive way to me. But people who just want to conserve animals, for the planet, I think that's a great thing.
Well, see, the problem with it being politicized is typically there's always the earmarks involved with politicizing it.
Yeah.
It's like, we're going to save the earth, but
vote for me.
You don't need any rights. You know what I mean? Your rights don't matter. And there doesn't need to be. When you have a company like this, like if these are legitimate people, which I don't know them personally, they all seem like they are. They're all showcasing what they're working with, who they're working with, why they're doing what they're doing. I'm saying that nothing they're going to do is nefarious. And I don't know that because, humans are humans. But either way, they're introducing this technology into the world.
Yeah, they want to use it for good, it seems like.
They want to use it for good. So obviously there will be certain parameters for its application. There may be certain legal.
I wonder if it gets good enough, the government's going all right, well, now we want it, or we're going to take it, or.
I'm curious they're going to have copyright protections and things for their technology that doesn't stop corporate
government coming in.
Corporate espionage and things like that. So
having in Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
I did want to compare their presentation to Mr. DNA. Mr. DNA, he explained it really well for a simpleton like me. But I, as an adult, I think I kind of got it from a layman's perspective, at least. You know what I mean?
Well, there's a lot that they're throwing at me in terms of a lot of the words.
The way they gene edit. I guess to me what's interesting is, what do these tools look like that take something out of one cell and put into another? What does it look like? You know what I mean? What does it look like?
A very small version of that. So,
I know, but how does, the human...
Nanotechnology, man. Nanomachines, son.
So, my youngest daughter's right there looking under. It's kind of creepy. You see little eyes looking at you. I imagine they use some kind of not robotics, but they control it with some type of joystick, and then because you couldn't do it by hand, like it's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't imagine because the slightest it would have to be able to adapt to the movements in your hands. That way, it would replicate them in such a small amount because it's a large movement with your hand.
Well, I mean, it's like a mouse. Like, so, I mean, like, you get to a point...
That's what I'm saying. Like, a mouse, like, there's you barely move your hand over and the mouse travels much farther.
Yeah, so there's settings like in video games.
So I'm saying, like, and then instead of that, you barely move your hand and it barely moves that machine.
Or you have to do this just for it to do that.
Or it's programmed. It might just be programmed.
Yeah.
And you just literally input data and... it does its thing.
Yeah, well, I think they use multiple gene editing to do a lot at once to account for, like, they said, like, the decay to the cell that happens. Because
they call it multiplex gene editing.
Multiplex gene editing, yeah. They were talking about, I guess, specifically the direwolf in general, the L-curl gene. Yeah, so I think I remember something about blue whales. So blue whales and elephants, they have lower rates of cancer than humans, like way lower. Mm-hmm. But with everything we know about cancer... the bigger an animal is, the more cells they have, the more likely one of those cells can turn cancerous.
Yeah.
But not them. Wow, they don't get cancer, so what does that mean? Like, why do we get cancer? We're smaller than them, we have less cells. And I remember them talking about, I think it might have been the L-curl gene, and what is it about them that, like, when they have cancer, like, there's this process called mitosis is cell division. Apoptosis. It's like this, when a cell dies... Mm-hmm. So they experience at a much higher rate. So their bodies are just programmed to not die from cancer. Anyways, but they're talking about the eco collapse. We did mention in the pre-talk about the wolves reintroduced in the Yellowstone. It completely changed.
And they were talking about their predictions, by 2050 that half of all species on the Earth will be
I wonder
extinct, and that the extinction rate is 1,000 to 10,000 times faster than.
If the data is correct on that, then that's really bad.
Yeah. Like, I don't know where they pulled the data from.
Yeah, okay, so when I used to read Ranger Rick Wildlife magazine that my grandma used to give me, that is one thing they talked about was in the past 100 years, things have been going extinct at a much higher rate. Mm-hmm. And obviously humans are involved in a little bit at least, or a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so out of a dodo, man, I mean, honestly, the wolf is cool, and wolves are cool. But to me, it's
the big three in the beginning was the dodo, the thylacine, and the woolly mammoth.
Yeah, I think all three of those are kind of cooler than the wolf, simply because all three of those are extinct. They've been extinct for a long time.
So is a direwolf.
Yeah, I know, but because it's just a bigger version of a wolf, that's a little less interesting.
A hairier version of an elephant.
Oh, I know, but that's still kind of cool. It's just like a big ass hairy elephant, like a woolly mammoth. I don't know. To me,
it's a hairier version of an elephant.
Yeah, I mean the dodo. Like, I'm not saying it's like the coolest animal. I guess it might have been the Brits. They used to have this game where they walk around at night, and so this dodo it was a dumb animal. It just didn't perceive humans as threats. It would walk up to people and just kind of stand there and look at them, and they would take this club and just hit them in the head. Mm-hmm. It's a game they play. And they took one of the last islands that had a ton of dodos. They just killed them.
Yeah.
Just because they're being stupid. It's just crazy. What I mean? Just dumb people.
The responsibility to correct our mistakes from the past.
Yeah, I absolutely think if we can do that, and it's not something like, it's not like the government's not giving them tax money. But I'd rather my tax money go to something I like, wars I don't like, you know what I mean, or anything I don't like.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's a legitimate, honest thing to say for sure. Yeah.
No, I was just saying it because it was just a talking point.
Yeah. I think if we can correct mistakes, we should.
No, I do like what I see, and I've only just learned about this company and just realized, honestly, that they were the ones that made the announcement about the woolly mammoths there a while back. So I have not been keeping a close eye on them.
Have you looked up the thylacine stuff? Mm-mm. So do you know what a thylacine was? A Tasmanian dog, I think is what it's called.
Tasmanian tigers.
Tasmanian tiger, duh. Yeah, so Forrest Gallant, he's the one who kind of introduced me to the thylacine in terms of like getting excited for it. And I heard about this company through Forrest Gallant because of the thylacine, not the woolly mammoth. But yeah, the last one died, I think, in a San Francisco zoo in 1912. We have footage of it.
Yeah.
And it's like the most unique animal. Like the way it opens its mouth, it looks like
it's got a possum head.
Kind of,
You know, when a possum opens its mouth, it's just this really long jaw.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. And it opens really...
It's a marsupial, right?
Yes.
It's a marsupial. So
Yeah. So farmers, they were killing some livestock, I think chickens. So farmers, what they did was they had the idea to introduce coyotes to kill the thylacines. And it killed the thylacines and then killed the chickens. and now they have a coyote problem. So I know Forrest Gallant has taken multiple expeditions to try to find this thing. And I know we talked about this in the pre-talk, but he believes that there are small populations in area, because there's a lot of areas that humans just can't get to very easily because there's no roads. If you want to get to a place that's like 700 miles from the nearest road, and you have to walk, and and there's nowhere to land for helicopters.
There's no infrastructure.
Yeah, there's nothing. You know what I mean? And then if you want to film it, you got to get National Geographic to give you like $100,000 and a team, and you got to have equipment, and all those people have to carry the equipment. And I didn't, because I always thought like, oh, you just get some backpacks and a camera, and you get some water, and you go. You get some guy who knows what plants to eat, and then you eat the plants and the roots. I guess I'm dumb, and it's not that simple. But he's excited because that's his favorite animal, and either through discovering a real one in some of these closed-out populations, or through Colossal, he's going to see a thylacine, and I think that'd be pretty cool. I think the dodo's interesting. It looks really interesting to me. Imagine like, because we, obviously, when I think of birds, when I think of the biggest birds, I think of falcons and eagles and
like cassowaries.
Well, how big are those?
You don't know what a cassowary is?
No.
So a cassowary.
I mean, I guess there are ostriches.
There are, but
and those things kill people, like raptors with their claw.
I know you've probably seen one of these things before. Yeah.
And those things have killed people.
Yeah, those things kill people all the time.
Yeah, those things kill people. Yeah. I think.
Look at the size of that bird. And it looks like something that's prehistoric, like the crest on its head.
Yeah, it's definitely huge. Okay.
It's gigantic.
Anyway, so the dodo isn't as big as that, I don't think, but it's got like volume. It's something.
It kind of reminds me of like a shoebill stork.
Yeah, like
where they have the really big head,
big beaks, and
the body's kind of a little skinnier.
Yeah, like I don't know. There's something that to me I always thought was cool, and we are directly responsible for those things dying, in a lot of ways. So, mammoth, I don't know. I think it. To me,
I think we're responsible for a lot of the tiger species deaths, right?
Yeah,
things
for sure. And there's a group of lions they specifically used to kill people in Rome. One of the emperors, one of those hunted down, and then they brought along the zoos inside of Rome, and they just died out.
Okay.
Thylacine, very cool. Dodo, very cool. I mean, it's all very cool. Any specific animal that you can think of that you'd want brought back? I mean, I know I would love to see dinosaurs. I think if there were no consequences, whatever. How about not dinosaurs? Because I think we both picked dinosaurs.
Not dinosaurs, but it's an animal that I'd like to see brought back.
Yeah.
I mean, probably for the worst, but I'd say like a short-faced bear.
Yeah, those things are...
They're huge.
Yeah, they're way bigger than the Kodiak bear, right?
Yeah, substantially bigger.
Yeah.
They're substantially bigger than a polar bear.
Okay.
Which Kodiaks get about as big as a polar bear, but they all the same. Like
I would love to see that.
There's another one too. It was like it had a fuller name, but it was like a southern short-faced bear.
Yeah.
And it was even bigger. Like if I could think of something that I could want, I can't even think of anything that I would have.
Megalodon.
Well, megalodon, no. Fuck those fish.
Well, I mean, like, because I know you love great whites.
I do.
I would like to see a megalodon from because we can't even keep great whites in tanks.
Yeah.
I think the idea of seeing a megalodon safely somehow would be cool.
Well, I'm just thinking of, they crossed my mind, but I mean, you got to think about, you're just taking one killing machine and making it huge.
What Titanoboa?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I would like to see one.
Well, it's like the crocodiles.
Safely.
What were the humongous crocodiles?
Like from Lake Placid.
Yeah, but
I don't know if
they're from
Lake Placid.
No, Gennady Tartakovsky's.
Oh, Primal.
Yeah. Or in the beginning, where he's in that river.
Yeah.
And it tries to eat him.
Yeah.
Like those would be really cool to see.
Yeah,
I like crocodilians, but I don't want it to be out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I can't think of any good way that would affect the ecosystem.
Yeah, you're right. There was this turtle in the Americas that was the size of essentially like those armadillos that were like size of small cars.
Yeah.
And it was in the Americas, and it went extinct not that long ago. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think early humans interacted with it in the Americas. It's like 50,000 years old. It went
like ground sloths.
Like 40,000 years ago, this turtle went extinct, and it's like as big as this table.
It was like ground sloths.
Yeah.
Things. I think they found out that there were signs of human interactions in their environments. And
those things are like a huge claws, or I don't know if they're the same as the sloths we have here.
Yeah, no, I mean they're just as slow, but you would think they wouldn't be if they're digging holes in the ground like they are.
The idea of like these crazy animals that we'll never see, it's sad. You know what I mean? Like I would love, obviously dinosaurs is a given, but to me, the idea that early humans, when they came to this continent, there was shit they'd never seen. Mm-hmm. They interacted with all kinds of crazy animals, like the short-faced bear, right? Or was that Asia?
It was here.
Obviously, some of these big cats we have here, and now we'll never see it. It's just kind of crazy.
It is sad. I mean, I don't see how introducing a lot of that big of a variety into ecosystems is going to be that beneficial. Obviously, they explained that the benefits are going to be the preservation of a lot of biodiversity.
Yeah.
And reintroducing certain species that can maximize biodiversity
and help diversity and stuff like that. Now, it'd be cool if they did some kind of a Jurassic Park zoo, but it was like just like the dodo and shit, like safe animals. Like the mammoth was the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but we have the thylacines, we have dodos, we have I don't know, those giant armadillos.
Yeah, I can see that. It depends on the amount of course, we could be discussing.
Some jackass will want to make a T-Rex out, I'm telling you.
And I would love to see one.
I would love it.
I want to hear how it sounds. I know there's been a recent mimicry of what they presume it sounded like. With a...
I mean, obviously Jurassic Park has been canonized within my life.
Well, I know they're not considered reptiles.
Yeah, well, not now, yeah.
Yeah, but even alligators, I don't think they have vocal cords, but they hiss. So they draw in air.
Yeah.
And they force it back out, which is more or less what you do with vocal cords, I guess.
Yeah, but I understand the vocal cords are vibrating and everything else.
Yeah, it makes this hissing sound where they're pressing that air back out. So
like I used to think turtles did that, and they can hiss, but lots of times the box turtles when I was younger, or even turtles when they put their head in, it forces the air out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Remus and Romulus. Appropriate names, really cool names. And I just love that woman. Like, she was the chief scientist. She was very obviously emotionally motivated and very like a big believer in her work. We like talk about stuff like this because we talk about it all the time off camera. This is a reaction channel, so we want to incorporate other interests, video games, cool stuff like this, along with obviously movies and shows. Anyways, guys, if you like this, if you think this is interesting, leave a comment down below. Tell us what you think. Much love. See you next time.